Recently there has been a spout of news outlets reporting that the Japanese government is dishing out free houses. So what gives? Well, while it isn't completely 100% untrue, some of the facts are often omitted in the expense of a catchy headline. So what exactly is going on, and how the hell do I get a free house? Well, before we get to that, let's look at exactly what has led us to this situation in the first place. If you're even mildly up to speed with Japan's current affairs, then you'll be well aware of the fairly critical issue of the country's ageing population. Every year there are more people dying than there are babies being born. It's a negative trend that, according to some analysts, could see the country's population drop as much as 30% by the year 2050. Not only is this having a huge negative effect on the nation's workforce, but it's also leaving a whole ton of properties unoccupied. In Japanese, these properties are known as Akiya. Aki meaning empty and ya meaning house. These properties are usually abandoned after the previous occupants have passed away, and either their family has already moved away and has no interest in maintaining it, or they have no one to leave it to. Most of these buildings then become the adopted responsibility of the local governments to sort out. In 2013, Japan's Ministry of Land, Infrastructure, Transport and Tourism, try saying that 3 times fast, estimated that there was around 8.2 million abandoned homes at the time. This accounted for 13.5% of the total residencies in the country. If you were to fill them all with just one person each, they would house roughly 8% of the population. With a usual family setup of 3 to 5 people, that's nearly a quarter of the population that could be housed in these abandoned properties. This high figure is what usually catches the media's attention, but actually it takes into account every single room in a property for let, so the actual number of unoccupied properties is around 2.2 million. Which, let's be honest, is still a lot of bloody houses going to waste. More recently, in 2018, an updated housing and land survey found the number had risen from 8.2 to 8.46 million, an increase of 3.2% in just 5 years. So what's the main problem? Well, although some of these properties are in the city, most of them tend to be out in the countryside. The allure of the big cities is proving to be a bit too much for most young Japanese citizens, and this is now leaving many smaller towns and villages in the countryside completely empty. With less and less youngsters to take the reins of local businesses, the economy is also suffering as a knock-on effect. As you can see, this is definitely not a good situation for the residents of these smaller towns, or for the Japanese economy as a whole, especially in the sector of agriculture, which is losing its workforce at an alarming rate. According to Japan's Ministry of Agriculture, Forestry and Fisheries, the last 60 years has seen a decline of farming families from around 11 million in 1965 to 1.33 million in 2015. With this shortage of labour, it leaves in its wake the rather alarming fact that 6 out of 10 Japanese farmers are over the age of 65, and many have no one lined up to step in when they finally decide to hang up their hats. To try and rectify this issue, some local governments have been brainstorming up some schemes to try and bring some young blood back to the countryside. In 2015, Shichikashiku in the Miyagi Prefecture and Suwano in the Shimane Prefecture started their repopulation campaigns by offering up properties with incredibly cheap rent with just a few stipulations. The prospective applicants had to be a young couple and willing to stay and live in the town for the next 20 years. These properties weren't Akiya though, but rather new builds with the rent starting at around 35,000 yen. If, like me, you're a person that lives in a rented property, I'm sure that you can agree that for that price, you're basically living there for free anyway. These properties are offered as a rent-to-buy scheme, meaning if the new residents stay in the town for the previously mentioned 20 years, their rent will have paid for the house and the land it sits on, and they will legally own it. Okay, so those deals do sound pretty good, but I know why you came here. You want to know about those free houses, right? The town of Okutama, which lies on the far western edge of Greater Tokyo, also jumped on board with this method to help rekindle their dwindling population of 5,600 people. Their approach was similar but had slightly more rigorous criteria to be met by prospective applicants. The deal was only available to married couples under the age of 40 with at least one child, or married couples aged 40 to 50 with at least one child of high school age. Their offer was much more lucrative too. Although not a new build, it was offered at a rent of 0 yen per month. Literally nothing. The only small catch was that the new tenants would have to pay the property tax of 30,000 yen per year, which rounds out to 2,500 yen per month. Couple that with the monetary gift that the family received from the town when they actually moved in, and the cost practically was zero. Since 2015, they have run this initiative a few more times, but with the offering slightly adjusted. In their latest campaign in late 2018, the town offered couples a new build property at a very reasonable 50,000 yen per month. As the aim of the game here is to bring as many young people to these smaller towns as possible, an additional incentive was added, stating that any couples with children will be afforded additional discounts on their already ludicrously cheap rent. For each child the family has, a discount of 5,000 yen per month will be applied. In the very logical words of an Okutama representative, the proposal was put like this: if a family with 10 children participates in the scheme, they will actually live here for free. Makes sense? So that's all well and good for young married couples, but what if you're single? What if you don't have kids? Or what if you're just too old to apply for one of these houses? Then what can you do? Well, this is where we come back to those Akiya we mentioned earlier. While the local governments are offering up new builds in their current schemes, for a long time they have sold Akiya properties to anyone interested. Most governments run their own Akiya bank, which is essentially a listing of all the available Akiya properties in the prefecture. For a more comprehensive overview of Akiya, there's actually quite a few websites dedicated to listing these abandoned properties. This particular website is called Inaka no Seikatsu, which translates to life in the countryside. The slogan of the website is Inaka no Seikatsu o yume miteru. This means dreaming of a life in the countryside, which admittedly does sound lovely, if it weren't for the fact that the dreaming of part of that profound statement hadn't been crossed out. I take this as meaning either the writer is no longer dreaming because he actually lives in the countryside, or that you shouldn't think about living in the countryside and he greatly regrets his decision. It certainly is a conundrum. Whether it's satirical or not, the website is packed full of information about pursuing the dream of living in a derelict house in the middle of nowhere. This section at the top, for example, offers up a huge list of websites that lists available properties in different regions of the country. As a clear indicator of how widespread this problem is, this list features local government websites from every single one of Japan's 47 prefectures. Let's just pick somewhere at random. How about Wakayama City? Just for that adorable orange alone. Wakayama City is the capital of Wakayama Prefecture in the Kansai area of Japan. Their Akiya Bank is currently listing over 200 available properties, but this is probably just a small selection of all the abandoned properties that can actually be found in the city. Clicking on any one of these listings will bring up all the details for the property, including the price. This list not only includes properties for sale, but also for rent, with some going for as low as 10,000 yen per month. Granted, this isn't the most desirable location from the offset, but given how much money you'd be saving in rent, it certainly wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility to invest a bit of money into doing some home renovations. So bear that in mind if you're seriously considering buying or renting an Akiya property in Japan. As the old adage goes, nothing in life is free, but some of these houses certainly do come close. So what do you think? Is this the dream of living in Japan that you imagined? Looking to buy your own Akiya property? I'll leave some useful links for you to check out down in the description. Just remember that any serious research into this matter will require at least some basic Japanese ability. For advice or assistance in English, during my research for this video, I did happen upon a chap called Toshihiko Yamamoto, who is a Tokyo-based property advisor. His links can also be found down below. If you found this video helpful, then please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to Kantan Japan, and hit the bell notification for instant updates on future videos. Also consider supporting us on Patreon for only $1 a month. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.